Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now it was about time for a regular ass video. Why, you may ask? Because I'll forget how to do it. So, I wanted to cover, and they're all popping up over here in the corner real quick because my emails are slow. I wanted to cover a topic that was suggested to us by the Orc Wrench, and I always fuck up the first part of her or his name, so I apologize. Also, don't know what gender you are. I think you're a lady. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. This is a taco stand here, so I've come to just assume that everyone's a lady. You're all girls and dorks. I'm a dork. I'm the biggest dork. So, I wanted to cover this topic suggestion about Australian shelters that were killing dogs. They were killing the dogs because of COVID-19 concerns. So, I have a couple articles, and one of them is actually from Phoenix. I don't live in Phoenix, but I live in Arizona. So, I figured wouldn't hurt to show you guys what the dog people in Arizona, specifically our capital, think about killing dogs. Like most states, we're way into dogs. It's this big thing, and everyone's obsessed, and no one can control themselves. And so they're always finger banging Fluffy and making out with them and freaking out every time something doesn't go their way. And, so don't mind me. As I mentioned yesterday, I think I got a touch of the heat stroke. So I had to sleep. I woke up groggy, but I'll tell you, I slept really hard. My insomnia didn't do shit. I didn't have any night terrors, no nightmares. None of that. It was nice. So now I'm just having some coffee, trying to finish waking up, and go ahead and make this video and let you guys know about this topic. And we may cover some other smaller stuff. There were a couple things that came up I definitely wanted to touch base on. So thank you for being here. Thanks for watching the regular ass video. And if I'm up to it later, I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to try to do a few a week. I like the live stream, as I've mentioned before, easier for me to navigate. Just trying to remember to go back and edit it and put the descriptions in is my problem, but I have learned that most people don't give a shit. 2 or 3 of you will remind me, like, hey man, I want to see the article. Hell yeah, I'm glad you guys remind me. I'm glad you actually want to see the article. Admittedly, it's somewhat frustrating when people don't care about the articles. I get it. It's easier to have me read it. There are a couple channels I follow on YouTube that I don't care to go look up the articles or anything, and so they kind of do the work for me, and I really appreciate that. So let's hop into this topic, shall we? And see if we can keep this video at a somewhat reasonable amount of time. So... And as I said, this is a suggestion from the Orc Wrench. And the first article I pulled up was the New York Daily News. Okay? And so let's hop into this crap, shall we? I mean, because, I had someone comment, wow, you have a whole YouTube channel about hating dogs. I'm going to assume this person knows me or came from my actual Facebook page. Yes, I have a whole YouTube channel. The whole thing is, though, it's not just about hating dogs. This is a safe place for dog haters and victims alike, and a place for us all to be able to talk, and an area that isn't covered enough. I know most of you have the same story as me. That at some point you realized how much you hated these things, or a certain incident happened, or, and you just went like, man, there's got to be other people out there like me, right? And everyone's afraid to talk about it. People are afraid to show their faces. I get a lot of that, oh, this is difficult, I can't do this, I can't, you trust me. If you knew what it was like, what kind of balls it takes, and big shout out to IHD, because he hasn't lost his fucking mind yet, like other groups tend to, or people decide that it's too much for them, and I don't blame them. It's better to know when it's too much for you and to stop and maintain your mental health. And fortunately for everybody, I've been through so much shit in my life that I seem to this shit just blows off. I mentioned yesterday I was very agitated and pissed off. And I thought I was going to need like days to recuperate, and it was literally within an hour or two that I was okay again. I'm pretty quick like that. I'm like duck feathers, just rolls right off. So let's get into this. Outrage. Yeah, you could turn off all the ads. I'd appreciate that. Outrage after Australian officials order rescue dogs to be killed after COVID fears. Yes, because, let's not. Turn that off. Let's not kill dogs because we're concerned about humans. So, the Daily News likes to send me 15 things like, please subscribe. No. Local Australian health officials sent animal rights activists into outrage mode after they ordered the killings of an unknown number of rescue dogs, fearing COVID-19 transmission. The national government is now investigating. The national government, you guys, I'll point out, as I always do, the amount of money that gets wasted on dogs. They're just dogs. There are hundreds of thousands of them being bred and born right at this minute, I promise you. If they have to kill some of them because they're aggressive or because, there's a concern about illness being spread, bacteria, viruses, then yeah, kill them. Let's protect our people and stop talking about the saving dogs. Lord. In the Bourke Shire Council, located in New South Wales, officials ordered the canines to be shot to death as a way of preventing volunteers from going to multiple shelter locations to find new homes for the dogs. Because people are supposed to be quarantining and social distancing, and not to mention, these dogs carry viruses, bacteria, and parasites. The last thing we should all be concerned about during a pandemic, whether you think it's bullshit or not, and we're not even going to get into that, that's not what this channel is about. Still, they've got golf courses open during the pandemic. That's okay. It's okay to rescue dogs. It's okay to this, that. But let's shut down the gyms. Let's do that. I think the way that this was handled, whether or not it's a true pandemic, is outrageous and laughable. In the Berkshire Council, okay, wait a minute, no, just did that. In total, 15 dogs, including puppies, were killed. I love how they have to put that in there because they want to incite frustration from people, not the puppies. In total, 15 dogs, including puppies, were killed. One of the dogs was allegedly a female who had just recently birthed a little litter of puppies. Trust me, it'll do it again. Well, not that dog. OLG has been informed that the council decided to take this course of action to protect its employees and community, including vulnerable Aboriginal populations from the risk of COVID-19 transmission. Though COVID-19 cases have increased in New South Wales, no recent cases were reported in the town of Cobar, where the shelter is located, despite traces of the virus being found in the town's sewage system. Gotta kick up the volume here. Go. The OLG is now investigating if the council violated any of Australia's animal cruelty prevention laws. Oh, what about virus transmission laws? I don't know. This just seems like the last of our concerns. The least. This is so stupid. Meanwhile, shelter volunteers say they are devastated. Staff members at the pound had already devised and implemented comprehensive COVID safety measures that were created to prevent transmission when it came time to collect any dogs. This is silly. We are deeply distressed and completely appalled by this. Oh, thank you. Come over here. Don't come in the camera. We don't want people sending you death threats. Well, no. Here he comes. There you go. Roll over there. He might be in the video. Let's say, don't laugh about it. We are deeply distressed and completely appalled by this callous dog shooting, said animal liberation activist Lisa Ryan. Shut up, Lisa Ryan, you dork. We totally reject council's unacceptable justifications that this killing was apparently undertaken as part of a COVID-19 safe plan. This is my son. Yeah, well, there's nothing on there. And that's a fucking dog. Oh, gosh. No rest for the wicked here. Okay, guys. That was the end of that article. Okay? So let's hop into another one. And like I said, I pulled up about 3 articles to cover this. We'll just make it its own video, and just not going to worry about the stuff with my son. I'm pretty open about my Facebook page too, so it's not like they can't see a picture of him. Although I do attempt to keep him to a minimum on my Facebook pictures and everything too, and that's because of weird pedophiles. So, here we go. COVID-19 rescue, dogs shot dead in Australia over coronavirus restrictions. Okay, so like I said, I'm just covering a couple different articles on this. This article is from the 23rd of August to 2021, so this basically happened a little shy of a month ago. And of course, as the one of the thumbnail pictures, one of the first photos on this article is a cage full of puppies. Okay, nobody says, like, if these are actual puppies that people are crying about. They just have to put the pictures of puppies. It's well known that it incites a certain feeling from people, and that people are obsessed with dogs and puppies. So, they do this shit on purpose, okay? 15 rescue dogs, including 10 puppies. And I believe they're going to repeat themselves, but I wanted to see, and this is from Sky News, so this is from Australia, okay? So let's see how these guys feel. So we had the New York Daily News, now we've got Sky News, okay? They've been shot dead by a rural Australian council under its interpretation of coronavirus restrictions. I applaud these guys, and I also have to say that, save a lot of money. We're in the middle of this pandemic and everything, and there are people that aren't working, there are people that are starving, they're giving out more food assistance and more unemployment and all this shit than ever. They also allowed people to start using their food stamps on dog food. Okay, so at a time when we really need to have our priorities straight, I don't think it's a big deal to kill off a bunch of shelter dogs. It's not like they were out killing people's dogs in their home. Not yet. So the Berkshire Council in New South Wales destroyed the canines, which had been in its pound, to prevent volunteers at the animal shelter from traveling around and potentially spreading the virus. Okay? The council decided to take this course of action to protect its employees and community, and the Aboriginal populations from COVID-19 transmission. So they're being very non-biased about this. The spokesman said officials were investigating whether any animal cruelty laws had been broken. 5 of the dogs had been housed at the pound since early August. One of the dogs then had 10 pups. Okay? The council said staff became concerned for the welfare of the animals due to overcrowding at the pound and 2 of the dogs attacking one of the others. So now you've got a dog becoming aggressive. He definitely needed to be put down. And as I always say, I miss the old days, because back in the day, when an animal shelter had dogs that were hanging around for too long and they couldn't put them up for adoption, they put them out of their misery and they moved on to ones that they could help, right? And nowadays, everybody's so sensitive, it's just every shelter is a no-kill shelter. I remember years ago when a no-kill shelter was hard to find. And even if you did, and this is former dog trainer and I did all this shit with dogs, it was hard to find those places. And now it's hard to find a shelter that puts them down. Oh, how times have changed. What was it? Times they were a-changin'. But Ron Burgundy had never heard of that song. Ashley hadn't either. A source said the shelter volunteers were distressed and already had COVID-safe measures in place to handle the dogs. If these kids knew, because as we all know, it's a hierarchy in the shelter systems, and these volunteers and the people down at the bottom of the totem pole really have no idea. And if they knew, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Let's just say that. Comedian Ricky Gervais has expressed his disapproval of the killings on social media. So, Orc Wrench, when you first brought this up, this was all I had seen about the topic just yet, was Ricky Gervais or whatever, talking about it. Berkshire Council told ABC News the dogs were euthanized because the rescue organization was from another local government area and they had concerns about people from other communities entering Bork. All of regional New South Wales has a stay-at-home order in place due to COVID-19. So, once again, you're saying, people aren't even allowed to leave their homes. They're not even supposed to be going anywhere. And they're not just going to keep stacking dogs on top of dogs on top of dogs, right? So they put a bunch of them down. It's only 15 dogs. The council said it had contacted its usual dog rehomer, who is based in the same area, but they were unable to come to Bork. This person's doing the stay-at-home order, right? And like I said, agree with it or not, they were following the rules. The shelter that was supposed to receive the dogs declined to comment, okay? Animal Liberation Regional Campaign Manager Lisa Ryan has called for an urgent investigation. Of course she has. Just like, my lovers were put out of their misery. We are deeply distressed and completely appalled by this callous dog shooting, and we totally reject the council's unacceptable justifications that this killing was apparently undertaken as part of a COVID safe plan. Let them do what they need to do. That's their shelter. This lady has a problem, she can go run her own shelter and run it how she wants. I kind of have the same attitude about the YouTube channel. I take suggestions and I listen to your guys' comments and everything else, but at the end of the day, this is my channel. And if you don't like certain things about it, start your own. Sorry. Staff are allowed to work at animal shelters even when lockdown measures are in place, according to the Office of Local... Of course they are, because, dogs are more important than humans. Councils are also encouraged to continue to work with the rehoming organization and volunteers to care for animals where that can be undertaken consistent with NSW health advice, he adds. Okay, so there. Now we've got the Sky News article, okay? Now let's find out what people here in Phoenix thought about this topic, okay? And it says a lot. You can always tell in an article by what pictures they use and how they choose to word. You notice Sky News just said, like, hey, they killed him for COVID-19, and then this lady didn't like it, and they didn't, really go either which way. So we have this article from August 25th, okay, from Fox 10 Phoenix. 15 rescue dogs killed by local government in Australia over COVID-19 restrictions. So immediately the first picture they put up, and they actually call the dog by its name, the dog who lost the family to COVID-19, gets walk of honor from shelter after finding forever home. They name the dog off, but they don't name the family that died. Okay, he lost his family due to COVID. What about the humans? What are their names? What happened with them? Were there children? They don't mention that. They say the dog's name is the first word in the title of the picture. They show this little stupid fucking dog, and then they say the dog's name three times. It first made headlines when photographs circulated social media showing her being held by an MCSPCA worker in protective gear after she was left without a home when her two owners lost their battles with the novel coronavirus. What are the humans' names? They never say that, okay? They just keep saying the dog's name, and this person's in protective gear, and all these people are standing by in a procession while this fucking dog walks by. It's like a deity to these people. It's really disturbing. And I'm sick of them saying the dog's name over and over. This happens all the time. And not mentioning the humans whom lost their lives. That's what I care about. That's what we should all... And this is part of the brainwashing shit. If I were to say this to someone else, hey, what about the... Oh my god, the dog. It's an article about the dog. Yes, I'm aware. I'm just saying, two owners lost their battles with coronavirus. Who are they? What happened? That's terrible. But no, we're going to keep saying the dog's name. Here's the article from Phoenix. Sydney, a local government in Australia, said it will review its rehoming practices after it decided to fatally shoot 15 rescue dogs, including several puppies, in an apparent effort to prevent out-of-town volunteers from spreading COVID-19 while traveling to pick up the animals. They're putting the health of humans over these dogs, and now it's being talked about all over the country. The Berkshire Council, located in a small rural area of New South Wales, so you're not safe anywhere. These people are off the grid, not off the grid, but out in the middle of nowhere, said in a statement that it could no longer care for all the dogs at the Bork Animal Shelter, which has 5 dog holding pens that were at capacity. 5 dog holding pens is not shit, and they've got 15 dogs. It said out of the 15 dogs in its care, 2 of the dogs had become very aggressive against each other. So, put them out of their misery. It's not that hard to figure out. The council said it made contact on 2 occasions with the person who regularly helps to find new homes for the dogs, but the individual was unavailable. The statement added that the council had other unsuccessful attempts as alternative action, and that the dogs had been in the pound well in excess of the time required under the State Companion Animals Act. And that's Australia is doing this whole thing where they're turning them into companions. They're not even going to be like pets anymore, or even dogs. They're just slowly becoming human. And coupled with council seeking to stop people from other communities entering Bourke, given the level of vulnerability in the community, with all regional NSW under stay-at-home orders at the time, the decision was made to euthanize the dogs. It added, the town is in a tenuous situation at the moment with COVID-positive cases are on the increase. Council's being careful with people entering Bourke, and the majority of council staff have been stood down to avoid the virus spreading further into the community. Right. Another picture of a dog. Emma Hurst, a New South Wales lawmaker from the Animal Justice Party, told the New York Times the council had killed the dogs, including a mother and her puppies, instead of allowing volunteers from an animal shelter in another town to come and pick them up. She also added on Twitter that advocates had tried desperately to stop Warwickshire from killing the homeless dogs and lost dogs in their care, only to find out they had been killed already. So what? Why don't you people go help some children or something? What is wrong with these people? New South Wales is under a stay-at-home order at the spread of the Delta variant of the coronavirus, which reported more than 900 new COVID cases on Tuesday, a new daily high. Residents are urged not to travel outside of their local area if you can avoid it. Animal welfare care and accommodation service workers are classified as authorized workers, meaning they can travel outside of their local government areas if required for work. The official local government, a government agency that oversees local councils in New South Wales, has encouraged councils to keep rehoming animals where health advice can be followed, according to Sydney's Morning Herald. It is looking to the incident to see whether the council's actions complied with animal cruelty laws. The Warwickshire Council said in its statement that none of the dogs were registered or chipped. It initially had 5 dogs at the shelter in early August. One of the dogs had a litter of 14 puppies, 4 of which died. 2 of the dogs have been surrendered to the council and shown aggression to the shelter staff. 3 were picked up while roaming the streets. There's, 5 that can just be killed right away. 2 of them are being aggressive towards shelter staff. They said they were being aggressive toward each other. I'm going to assume the same 2 dogs. And then you got 3 that just were picked up roaming the streets. Just deal with it then. The council statement said Bourke had supported rehoming animals in the past and would continue to do so, noting that its euthanizing rates had dropped from 95% in recent years and to nearly 0 thanks to the rehoming of dogs, up until this required action. So no one's going to talk about all the good they were doing before. All they care about are the dogs they killed now. Council is reviewing its rehoming practices and will be reaching out to organizations who may be able to assist during these difficult times. So yeah, once again, it's all they care about. Dogs, dogs, dogs. They don't care if it's spreading virus. They don't care if this shelter is well over capacity. All they care about is rehoming those dogs. 3 of them were just street dogs roaming around the street. 2 of them are highly aggressive. Hey, maybe Caesar Milan will adopt them and he can let them roam at large in his apartment complexes and attack people, and then he can blame the victims for even showing up in the apartment complex because they knew his dogs were dangerous. I don't know. You know, you'd think that that's the one person you could go around their dogs and trust them because they're a professional and stuff, but you can't trust dogs at all, no matter whose care they are in, and don't ever leave your children around them. And that's just that. So, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it from the bottom of my dog-hating heart. I appreciate every one of you. Keep the topic suggestions coming in. I covered most of them in the last video, but we all know in the short amount of time since I made a video yesterday up until this video I'm making this morning, I've already found tons of stories, been forwarding them to my computer. You can't not. I remember IHD saying it, and I'll quote him, it's just, you couldn't get enough people talking about this. One person couldn't cover all these stories if they tried. It's impossible. I would spend literally all day on the computer. I could just do a live stream that never stops and sit here and just keep looking stuff up. And we're not talking about just old stories, recent ones. Since last night, I found 3 updates on stories we've already talked about, and 2 more attacks. And that's just not even looking for them, just popping up. So imagine, right? So thank you all. I'm going to stop this video, probably see you later tonight. Everyone have a good day and a safe weekend. Don't forget your steel toes, protect yourself, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next video.